Hi, everybody. My name is Cory Lester,
And my name is Elizabeth Carter.
and this is our study on Germany.
Germany is located in Western and Central Europe. It is comprised of 16 federated states and is bordered by Denmark, Poland, the Czech Republic, Austria, Switzerland, France, Luxembourg, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Currently, Germany plays a very important role in the Eastern European Union.
The size of Germany is something that is important to mention as well, as many are not familiar with it. As it has been a part of many moments in history, its land area is relatively small compared to the Americas. As you can see in the picture on the top left-hand corner, Germany is much smaller than the US. And in the picture below, an outline of Montana is to give you to show a size comparison. Germany is a very densely populated area, including 240 people per square kilometer. This is much higher than the US, which sits at 35.71 people per square kilometer. This density may be caused by the land size of Germany, which sits at 348,560 square kilometers to give a comparison, as well as the US is roughly 9.8 million square kilometers. This dense population can create advantages and other disadvantages in leadership. With such a small land area and high population, culture and differing views can start to impede one another. However, what Germany may lack in size, they make up for in diversity. The current population of Germany is 83 million people. Of these millions of people, multiple ethnicities and races are present, including a majority of German, Turkish, Polish, Syrian, and a host of many others. Due to the placement of Germany in Europe, Germany is a country of immigration. Immigrants bring with them parts of their cultures, including varying forms of language. We will talk more about the German language later in the presentation, but the dominating language in Germany is German, followed by other languages including Danish, Frisian, Sorbian, along with many others based on regions. Last, it is important to add that 77.4% of Germany is primarily urban, which brings these cultures and languages to interactions every day.
Through our studies on leadership, we have learned that German leadership is formed and influenced by values, religion and personal time, German history and culture, language adhering, and the business culture.
When it comes to values in German leadership, the overarching traits boil down to fairness, honesty, trust, and understanding. German leadership is considered intense and personal with a determination to be successful. Trust is something that is given automatically and is only lost when a person is disappointed and is difficult and might not be possible to regain. At times, leaders sacrifice compassion for performance. This might sound harsh compared to American or other countries' leadership styles, but understanding why limiting compassion in pursuit of success is not only a necessary part of leadership, it is not a sacrifice at all. According to Lewis, Germans are honest, straightforward negotiators. They have a tendency to be blunt and disagree openly rather than going for politeness or diplomacy. Leaders in Germany are very private and closed off compared to an open door policy. German leaders seek to be separated from workers and rely on personal autonomy. This process would not be considered laissez-faire leadership or hands-off leading, but instead German culture and values designate roles and responsibilities for individuals to accomplish. The leader's role is to facilitate these individual roles to make sure that everyone in the structure is in a consensus. Much like a farmer getting the water to the end of a field, German leaders pass information from level to level. When it has reached the bottom tier of the organization or the water has reached the end of the rill, that level will detail the outcome. That level or organization will detail the outcome of the project as well as pass along other information back to the leader. Everyone has a role to accomplish. So instead of a group working together on one big project, individuals accomplish specific tasks that build on each other until the job is done. In a research study undertaken to identify key elements of transformational leadership and transactional leadership in US and German telecommunication companies, the German people have a much more difficult relationship, the notions of effective identification with one's manager or leader. In analysis of an employment relationship in both countries, transformational leadership was deliberately shunned in Germany until recently. This form of leadership was, in its negative and perverted sense, the core of the rise of the Third Reich in the 1930s and during the Reconstruction. So it would make sense not to emulate this kind of behavior. In the late 1940s and 1950s, German society implemented a very contractual form of governance and management, where the rights and duties of each member of society were clearly and formally defined, detailing this transactional type of leadership. Moving on into religion, many different religion beliefs are spread around Germany. Most Germans classify themselves as non-religious at 37.8%. As well, prominent religious groups are 27.7% Roman Catholic, 25.5% Protestant Christian, and the remaining 9% identify as another religion. Islam is the biggest non-Christian faith in Germany at 5.1% of the population. Religion and personal time are also important when discussing values based on leadership in Germany. Germans find no use in humor or jokes in the workplace. Casual stories and things that distract from work are considered as a distraction and unprofessional. Germans are often let down by other countries' use of humor in business. The reason for this is Germans value downtime and the ability to rest from work. Germans value their leisure time greatly and will not welcome your attempts to cut into their work with distracting stories. Meetings on Friday afternoons, when many offices close early, are not popular.
German history and its influence on culture. Historical leadership influences play a large role in today's German culture. Germany has struggled through many world wars, the Nazi regime, and former communist German Democratic Republic, or East Germany. These have all played a very large part of who the Germans are and how their culture is today. During World Wars I and II, wartime propaganda frequently misled the Germans to believe that they were winning the wars or that they were doing better than they thought. This can lead to the thought that the people cannot be trusted. While under the GDR, or German Democratic Republic, fear of the SED, the secret German police Stasi, made many Germans fear trusting their neighbors, their loved ones, and even their children. Because of this, privacy is very important to most Germans. They keep their business life separate from their personal life. Many feel that Germans can be cold or aloof, but it is often resolved as relationships build. Germans, as Cory said before, are known to be very honest people to the point of being considered blunt. One of the things that is still really playing an influence on German culture is the reunification of Germany on October 3rd, 1990, which has been difficult in many ways for Germans. Socioeconomic differences still exist from one region of the country to another. East Germans and West Germans often don't get along, even to this day. And there is still a very large gap in wages, earnings, and financial matters.
The language and hearing aspect of the German language is also important when talking about the culture of Germany. The German language is a tightly disciplined, no-nonsense entity with long compound words often expressing complex concepts. We might therefore expect the inner monologue of a German person to be serious rather than casual, concentrating on weighty issues and resulting in verbalized thoughts that will be anything but flippant. Hearing, as far as motivating subordinates is concerned, German would seem to be less flexible than, for instance, the American English. The constrictive effect of case endings make it difficult for German speakers to chop and change in the middle of a sentence. They embark on a course plotted partly by gender, partly by morphology, and in a straitjacket of Teutonic word order. Because the verb comes at the end of the sentence, the hearer is obliged to listen carefully to extract the full meaning. The length and complexity of German sentences reflect the German tendency to distrust simple utterances. Information-hungry Germans are among the best listeners in the world, and their language fits their hearing skills.
German business culture. Germans believe that the world is governed by Ordnung. They expect and operate on clear chains of command. They feel that efficiency is key, and those that they work with must respect their primary values of punctuality and orderliness, be tidy in appearance, behavior, and thought, and have clearly written procedures in detail. The German vertical leadership structure is dependent on consensus, though those Those in the office setting may not always agree with what the top level is saying or doing. They will not say so in public, but will choose to announce this in private. So Cory, would you want to be a leader in Germany?
I think I would struggle as a leader in Germany, as I do use humor and lightheartedness to resonate and connect those that I work with. I'm a very hard worker and value getting a job done right, much like the Germans do. However, you need to find joy in your work. And one way I do that is being personal with others and being authentic in my leadership. Something that the Germans do not value in leadership roles, however. And then Elizabeth, would you want to be a leader in Germany?
Well, given my personal leadership traits and tendencies, I think that I would struggle to fit into the German leadership culture. I am very servant leader and transformational leadership prone, and those would be difficult to fit into the German leadership style. I am also very fond of order and punctuality in many of the German traits, but I am very personal, and that may throw my constituents off or leave them feeling uncomfortable. Of course, I could work to change my leadership skills and habits to fit the situation, as I'm sure many people have and do, but I think that I might not be a very effective German leader. What have you learned about this culture's leadership practices that will help you in the future, Cory?
That's a great question. I've learned some great skills in this presentation to help me in my leadership journey, as I will use humor more sparingly. And I will think more about what the other person has said before I speak. So listening for understanding instead of listening to respond. I really want to be a better transformational leader. So I'll use the knowledge of what has not worked in the past of Germany and apply that so I do not make similar mistakes. And then what have you learned, Elizabeth, in this presentation to help your leadership journey?
Well, I will tell you from this course of study, I have learned that you need to be aware of your situation and the different cultural influences that you may be working with. And I have learned that specifically, I may have to change my preferred leadership styles to be more effective in other cultures. Thank you for listening to our leadership presentation on Germany, and thank you, Cory, for working together.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you.